My kids recently had dentist appointments, and we get to the end of the appointment, and the dentist is informing me that my oldest child has multiple cavities. And let me tell you, the self inflicted mom shame and mom guilt that came over me was deep. And I didn't even realize it in the moment because in the moment I was just like, really? Are you sure? My husband and I both have pretty good teeth. And I brush the kids' teeth really well. We even floss a little bit. And I don't remember flossing as a child. Did you floss as a child? I don't remember it. And so I was like, there's no way they have cavities. We don't eat a lot of sweets. There's no reason for him to have one. And she explains to me, that this can just kind of happen. It depends on how close their teeth are, what bacteria is in their mouth. And yes, flossing can help. And she's not worried about it at all. She's like, it's totally normal. But I'm sitting there thinking, kids shouldn't have cavities. We brush his teeth all the time. He doesn't eat a lot of sweets. Why would he have a cavity? And because my experience was that I didn't have a lot of cavities, I still have really good teeth. And my husband does, like I said. So we were just kind of confused. And I had so much mom shame over this and so much mom guilt. And this is what I do. I help women understand that the things that happen in life aren't all their responsibility or fault, and that we just do the best we can. But I want you to know that there are situations that I'm just like those that sit in mom guilt or mom shame, where I sit there and I look at myself and I'm like, well, you could have prevented this, or you should have made a different decision. And now, in hindsight, looking back at this, I really don't think there's much we could have done other than really strategically floss and clean our 5-year-old's teeth beyond measure. But I have now talked to a couple other parents, and their kids have had cavities at a young age, and they're like, this is normal. And so I want you to weigh in on this and be honest with me. Send me a message on Instagram and tell me if you're like, no, we floss my kids' teeth every night and you should floss your kids' teeth every night. Or if you're like, yeah, this has happened to me too. Let me know. I want a real pulse. But the point was that I had put this mom shame on me, that it was self-inflicted. And so often these situations happen in life where we self-inflict this mom shame, mom guilt, this lack of ability on ourselves, that no one else has given us this badge of, oh, you failed as a mom brushing the teeth of your kids, but we've decided that we have. That is not at all the conversation that I had with the dentist. And that's not at all the situation that we've had. But I was like, we didn't do a good enough job. We didn't do what we were supposed to do. This is our fault. And again, if we had flossed more, potentially we could have done that. But one, knowing that really barely serves me at this point. Are we flossing more now? We are, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. And I think that that is the takeaway and the information that we should carry forward when we have these situations where we start to question if we did the right thing or if we've made the right decision. It's being able to look back and say, no, I didn't do anything that wrong. Is there something I want to do differently next time? Maybe that's information. You have new information that you're going to carry forward with. You have a new decision that you're going to make. But also, just because there's something you can do better next time doesn't mean you did anything wrong, right? I am sure that you've had a child get hurt at some point, fall, and maybe you see in hindsight, they could have been wearing different shoes. You could have gone a different route. You could have walked a different way. You could have said, watch out. But that doesn't mean you did anything wrong, right? And this happens in so many different areas of our life. I just ruined a blazer the other day in the washing machine. I followed the directions on the blazer, exactly how to wash it to the T. I pulled it out. It is ruined. It is one of my favorite blazers. It is completely shredded. The threads are all over. And I was so upset. I was so upset with myself for putting the blazer in the washing machine because I felt like something that I should dry clean. I was like, this looks like something that shouldn't go in the washing machine, but the tag says that it can. So I'll try it out. I wanted to wear it to an event the next day and I didn't have time to get it cleaned. And I put it in the washing machine. But I didn't do anything wrong. I followed the directions. I did what it said to do. Now, in hindsight, looking back, I kind of knew better. I knew not to put it in the washing machine, but it said to. It said I could. But yet, now I have a ruined blazer, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I could sit in the shame or the guilt of what I should have done differently, or I can just say, well, sometimes things happen and move forward. And I think this shows up in so many different areas. If it's cavities, if it's ruined blazers, if it's moving into a new goal and you're like, oh gosh, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Well, now you have learnings, you have information, but sometimes things happen. And so if you sit in the negative, if you sit in what you could have done differently, you can take that for 1 second and then move forward. Or if you stay there, it doesn't do anything for you, it doesn't serve you. And sometimes there's nothing you could have done. I am sure we've all had something bad happen in our life, and there's nothing we could have done. There's nothing in our control. And for the ambitious moms out there listening, you know that you like control most of the time. This is definitely common upon our community, is you want to create a plan. You want to create an environment that flows, that feels less chaotic and under control. If this doesn't resonate with you, in many ways, that's great. But for so many of us, that's what we're longing to create. And so when we feel like we have done the wrong thing to create that control, or we should have been able to do something about it, then we're doing ourselves a disservice, because that's not always the case. Sometimes we have no control. Sometimes it's God, the universe, it's just life that gives us something that we can't do anything different with. So I want to remind you to use the things that happen in our life as information, to let go of the shame and the guilt, because you're just learning. You're trying as you go. And sometimes it has nothing to do with you. And sometimes it's totally okay. The next part of that is, why do you care? Why do I care that my kid has cavities? Am I placing a judgment on it? I don't know. Maybe a little bit. Am I placing a judgment on me? Does it feel like something that shouldn't have happened? Does it feel bad? A little bit. Is it? At the end of the day, my kid's safe. He's fine. Is it something that I want to continue a path with? No. But why do I care so much? I don't know. I don't know. It's a self-inflicted mom shame and guilt. Where are you telling yourself stories around things that you are maybe creating a judgment around? Maybe it's from your childhood, society, trauma. What is it from that you're carrying this thought or feeling around something, and can you let it go? Do you need to just be okay that kids get cavities? Or are you going to make a story about it? Are you carrying baggage around because someone once told you something was good or bad, and you haven't even made your own decision up about it? Can it be neutral? Can cavities be neutral? Can ruining a blazer be neutral? Can it just be something that happens, not good or bad? Rather than saying, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to take care of my laundry. I ruined all my clothes. Or I can just be neutral with it. Be like, yeah, that wasn't fun. That's not great what happened. But things like that happen. And now I've learned that maybe anything that's questionable, I'm not going to put in the wash again if I really care about it. And if I don't really care about it, then we'll deal with it. What is the judgment that I have around that? What is the self-inflicted mom shame and mom guilt? And I want to be careful with the term self-inflicted, because I do understand that some of these things may come from subconscious thoughts, from learnings throughout your life. Maybe this is from your upbringing or society. So is it 100% self-inflicted? Probably not. It probably comes from somewhere. But what I mean by self-inflicted for myself, and I want you to consider as well, is you're now self-inflicting yourself to that. Maybe historically and previously it was inflicted upon you. Maybe it is something that you were taught. But now it's your decision. Now it's your choice. At some point in time, it may have been put on you, a thought that you received. But as adults, as moms, as people, women, we get to choose now. We get to choose if we take that thought or if we change it. So when we don't change it, it is self-inflicted. It doesn't mean that it's not hard to change. And it doesn't mean that you should feel bad that this comes up for you. But we have a choice to continue to inflict shame and guilt upon ourselves or to change the script, to change what that means for us or why we're thinking that way about ourselves when that thing happens. So the next time you have this feeling, the next time you start to feel shame or guilt around ruining your blazer or your kid getting cavities or anything else in your life, I want you to reframe the shame, redefine what that means for you, and trust and love the learnings and the experience. I spoke at an event last year and I spoke about reframing our shame, that we're all carrying something within us that we carry shame around. And we have to let that go. That's that self-inflicted shame that we aren't letting it go. Maybe someone made us feel that we should be shameful about that. Maybe it wasn't self-inflicted originally, but now it is. Now we're carrying that with us. And one of the women in the audience came up to me afterwards, and she had just found out that her son that was in high school was now expecting a baby. And she was carrying a lot of shame around that. She was a young mom herself, and she felt like she hadn't taught him the ways to prevent that. And she said that the conversation really helped her reframe that, to look at the blessing that it was going to be for their family, to trust that her son was doing the right thing and this was going to work out. And I think that was such a beautiful example of how we can reframe different things in our lives. And why does having a child at a young age, mean something bad? It's something that society teaches us. Sure, it changes your life. I wouldn't probably advocate for people to change their life in that way at a very young age, but it happens all the time. Maybe it happened to you. You're listening and you're here. There's a lot of beautiful things that can come from that. So we get to choose which decision we want to make. We get to choose how we move forward. And we get to choose, is there shame, guilt, resentment? Or is there possibility and excitement that moves forward with it? And so I want you to decide for yourself the next time this comes up for you. When you start questioning, did you do a good enough job as a mom? My oldest has hurt himself more than I ever want to have happen already. And I'm, knock on wood, sure that something else will happen. And every time that happens, I have this self-inflicted shame and mom guilt. Could I have prevented this? Is he going to be okay? And I'm sure this has happened to you too. But we have to let our kids evolve and grow. And they might get cavities. We might ruin blazers in the process. They might get someone pregnant. That might happen. But it's our job to reframe the shame, to let go of the guilt, to find the joy, to find the excitement, to rewrite the script, and to identify where are these thoughts and feelings coming from. And am I using this information to do something different next time? Maybe I am going to floss a little bit more, but I'm not going to sit in the guilt. I'm just going to say, okay, we're going to start flossing at night. Or am I just going to say, okay, we got the cavities filled and we're fine now? Maybe it all happened in one night when they, one time they didn't brush their teeth when we got home late or whatever it is. So don't let things that happen in life make you self-inflict guilt and shame on yourself or carry inflicted shame and guilt because it becomes a decision and a choice, and we get to let go of it. Don't sit in that. I recently shared a post on Instagram and it said, the mom outfit you need to trash this year. Mom guilt. Don't wear that ish. And I really want you to just take that fun, playful saying to yourself when you start feeling this. When you start feeling this, it really feels like a coat of shame or guilt that's been put on you. And it's like this big, heavy fur coat that someone puts on you. It's like the weighted vest when you get an x-ray, or a weighted blanket, but not in a good way. It's this heaviness. And if you can imagine someone putting this coat of shame on you and you pulling it off and feeling so light and so free, that's what I want you to think about when you start feeling this heaviness, this self-infliction. I want you to take that weighted coat and blanket and pull it off and stretch your arms out and remember that you're in charge and you're free. I'm sending you so much love, Mama. And I really mean it. Don't wear that ish. Don't do it. Try not to swear on this podcast. So you get the idea. But it is important for you to stand tall, to move through. Don't sit in the shame and the guilt. Don't wear that outfit. It happens to all of us. I hope you know that. But it's our responsibility to move through it when it happens. I'm sending you so much love. Again, send me a message. Let me know if it's really my fault that I have cavities or not. But either way, we're going to move through it. And we're going to move through the shame and the guilt. I'm sending you so much love. Have a good week.